We'll do a review of Likutei Sichos in Chelek Tazayin, volume 16. This is the third Sicha for the Parshas Vayakhel. This is a Rashi Sicha, and as the Rebbe himself says later on in the Sicha, this is a Gavaldik Chiddush, seemingly a very innocent, simple Rashi, three-word Rashi, and you see that tremendous halachas and ideas that they come out from this Rashi. Of course, with a little help of the Rebbe, you see tremendous chidushim over here. What the definition of a door in a gate in a house or in a partition, as the Rebbe will explain with regards to chiyuv mezuzah and the machlekes the Rambam and the Ravid, whether you put a mezuzah if there is no door, if there's a chiyuv mezuzah. But first over here, we're going to be discussing the curtain for the entrance to the chotzer. So around the Mishkan and the Mizbeach and the Kiyar, it was surrounded by a chotzer of kloim, of curtains. And it was 100 by 50. So the two sides were 100 each. And the front side and the back, the east and the west was the side closed. The east was the door where the entrance was, where you came in. And the 50 was divided, that you had 15. The pasuk says that you had 15 to the right side, 15 on the left side. So that's 30. And you had a 20 opening. Now the issue is, how was the height of that opening? That's not so clear as we see in the pasuk. That's the pasuk that we're going to read. In the pasuk, it seems in Pashtus that the height was 5 amas high. So it was basically 20 amas was the width and 5 amas was the height. It was 5 by 20. That was the entrance, the Pesach HaChotzer. And the Rebbe is going to have the whole taich over here, which involves with a lot of details, but we're going to go through it as we learn. Let's look inside. Aleph. From Pasuk Umosach Shar HaChotzer. So this is the pasuk which is in the end of Parshas Vayakhel. So over there it says that the curtain that was on the gate of the chotzer was Esrim Amo Oirach. The curtain was long, and the long way was 20 amas. And the koima and the height was Bereichev Chomesh Amas, was 5 amas wide. So that means it was 5 by 20. And then the pasuk adds, Le'umas Kalei HaChotzer. What does Le'umas Kalei HaChotzer mean? Rashi teaches Le'umas Kalei HaChotzer means the same size as the Kalei HaChotzer. The Kalei HaChotzer all around were 5 amas, the height of them. And this is actually the end of Parshas Truma, when the Torah says to make the kloyim over there of the chotzer. So over there, the pasuk says also that the chotzer, the height of the kloyim and the chotzer were 5 amas. So basically, Rashi explains the umas kalei hachotzer means the same size as the kalei hachotzer. The chotzer was 5 amas, and this was 5 amas as well. Is Rashi maitik the Werte? So Rashi quotes from the pasuk Umas Kalei HaChotzer, and he says Le'umas Kalei HaChotzer, and is mefarish Kimidas Kalei HaChotzer. That Le'umas Kalei HaChotzer means like the measurement of the kloim of the chotzer, just like the curtain of the chotzer. That same height was the door. The door had the same height as the other kloim of the chotzer. Okay. What is the Rashi is explaining to us over here because the word lu'umas means usually opposite, but in this case, the gate, the shar, was not opposite the kalal achotzer. So Rashi teaches lu'umas means as the measure. Zayin meforshim masbir. Meforshim explain that Rashi kum da bavornen. What Rashi is coming to answer over here, or to caution, as the Taich von Wort Lu'umas, that the translation of the word Lu'umas is nit wie es wird geteicht bechlal. It's not as it is usually translated. We translate kneged, opposite. But because here you can't say that the Lu'umas Kalei Achotzer, that this opening was opposite the Kalei Achotzer. We can't say that. The Baldas, the Shar Achotzer is not given connected the Kalei Achotzer. It wasn't opposite the Kalei Achotzer. Nor Bazeir Zait, it was on the side of the curtain, of the cover of the Chotzer. Nor the word Lu'umas though meant Kimidas, but over here, Lu'umas means the same measure. It was 5 amas, just like the measure of the kloim next to it. So the Rebbe argues now, if this is all what Rashi says, if this is all what Rashi means, then Rashi should have not brought down the whole words kalei hachotzer. Rashi should have said lu'umas means keneged. But therefore, we need to have to understand this, however. If Rashi kommt nor auf teichen the word lu'umas, if all what Rashi is coming is to translate the word lu'umas, pavos is meitig from posik of the verta kalei hachotzer. Why does he quote from the verse also the words kalei hachotzer? Obefrat as al chazar ze iber beguf pirushay. He also says it in the commentary itself. It says kimidas. It says kalei hachotzer. It doesn't. So why does Rashi have to quote from the pasuk the word kalei hachotzer? If he only wants to tell you that lu'umas means kimidas, and he says already kalei hachotzer the pirush too. Rashi could have said this shortly. Lu'umas means kimidas, like the same measure. So this is the one question. David Bechlal asks, why did Rashi actually choose to translate here that the word lu'umas means as the measure? Why can't we learn the word lu'umas as we find in other places that Rashi teaches the word lu'umas when we cannot teach it keneged? The Rashi says is lu'umas means next to. Basically, that would mean that it was 5 amas as opposed to, or as it relates to the other, which means that it was 5 amas higher than the chotzer. So if the chotzer, midas chotzer was 5, then this was 10. Lu'umas means next to, above, higher than it. The Rebbe brings down in 2 Rashis. Rashi seems to teach the word lu'umas when we can't teach it keneged. He teaches it like it's above. It's beyond lu'umas, the other height. Move on. There's other places in the Chumash who ken the word lu'umas. You can't translate the word lu'umas keneged, opposite of. One of them is Aleph lu'umas machbartoi. We talk about that the kisvei sa'efed, they tied in lu'umas machbartoi. So over there, what does the mean lu'umas machbartoi? Rashi says over there in Parshas Tetzaveh, and Rashi says it means above, close to the machbartoi. As the Rebbe will bring down in a minute, or it talks about where of the part of the korban over there. It says lu'umas ha'otzer. It doesn't mean opposite of the otze, which is the kidneys, but it leumas otze means above the otze. Leumas means a little higher than the otze. And Rashi in Parsha Vayikra, these are two places. Und dort is Rashi mefarish in the first one by the Kisvei Sa'efa. Rashi says leumas machbarte samuch l'mayla, close, higher up. Or in the leumas otze, Rashi teaches over there l'mayla. So the question the Rebbe wants to know: so why don't we teach here leumas, meaning beyond the kalei achotzer, not as the measure of the chotzer, but higher than the chotzer? So based on that, so Rashi should have translated here as well. Leumas means samuch l'maylo, that it means close, above. So what would it mean? Was it mean that the height was wide 5 ames, which was above the kala chotzer main? What does it mean? As the hoich from the mosach shara chotzer, that the height of the mosach shara chotzer is given chomish ames hecher, that it was 5 beyond, higher, leumas, l'maylo, for the kala chotzer. Why does Rashi translate leumas, kimidas, as the measure was ein loy chover in chumash? There's nowhere else in the chumash where leumas means as the measure, as it means over here, as Rashi teaches here. The Rebbe says this also explains, if we just want to say that it's 5 and we're not trying to hide it, higher it, we're saying, well, next to the side, which was 5, this was higher, then why do we have to say, again, it's 5 amas higher, that's it? Why do we have to say leumas kalei chotzer? Why do we have to add just like the measure of the chotzer? Just tell me that this is 5 amas high, and then it will be the same as we learned before, that the chotzer's kiloyim were 5 amas high. Nochmer, der pirush is lechoire mer miskabel in hemshech haposik. This interpretation that leumas means above, beyond the other one, seems to be more acceptable in the flow of the pasuk, rather than the pirush kimidas, rather than the interpretation that it is as the measure. Loit and pirush. Samuch l'maylo, if we say leumas means close but beyond, is verstandig. We understand why we need these words, leumas kalei chotzer. They come with these, people since given the hoich from the mosach shara chotzer. They are coming to tell us how high the curtain for the gate of the chotzer were. Because these extra words tell us they were actually 10 amas versus 5 amas. Chomish amas hecher for the kloim. They were 5 amas higher than the kloim. Pirush kimidas, but if it, as according to what Rashi learns, translate that it means like the measure, as the mosach had the zelbe mos v'di kalei achotzer, that the curtain had the same measure as the covers of the whole chotzer, as the curtain of the chotzer. So then these words, as the measure of the kalei chotzer, are extra. We're not coming to tell you here how high the height was of the kalei chotzer around the shar, because the pasuk in the end of Parshat Truma specifically says that the height of the kloim was 5 amas. So over here, why do we have to say the 5 amas of the gate, the height of the gate, mosach of the curtain, the cover is the same height as the side? Is moisif. So what does it add? As they say in kimidas kalei chotzer, that they're like the measure of the Kalei HaChotzer. So all these things is why does Rashi choose to teach the words the umas as the measure versus teaching the umas means higher. And the Rebbe goes in now in Ois Gimel to ask that it almost seems like, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that the Rebbe has brought down before, about how high the Mishkan was, the Mizbech was, that according to Rabbi Yossi, the Mizbech was 10 amas, although the Pasuk says, V'sholish amis k'mosei. So Rabbi Yehuda says that 3 amas was the height of the Mizbech. Rabbi Yossi said, no, it was 10 amas. He translates, what does it mean, 3 amas k'mosei, misvah soivev u'l'mayla. From the soivev was 3 amas, but together the whole height of the Mizbeach was 10 amas. So according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, and according to the Gemara and Eruvin, according to Tosfos, the Rebbe will bring down now, it seems like we have to say that the word lu'umas means above the Kalei HaChotzer. Because actually, as the Rebbe will bring down, according to Rabbi Yossi, the Kalei HaChotzer were actually 15 amas high. Not the pasuk says 5. So 5 beyond the Mizbeach, as the Gemara explains over there in Eruvin, in Zvachim. That 5 means above the Mizbeach. So the bottom line is, according to Rabbi Yossi, there is 15 all the Kloim. And according to Tosfos over there, a door has to have 20 tefachim high. So we answer that when it says here, koima umas Kalei HaChotzer means it was 5 tefachim higher than the Kalei HaChotzer. It was a total of 20. I know I said a lot of things over here. The bottom line is, according to the Gemara, the way Tosfos learns over there, as we'll bring down the whole piece now, according to Rabbi Yossi. So I just want to chap what the Rebbe is going to be saying over here. The Rebbe is going to be saying over here that according to Rabbi Yossi, which Rashi himself brings the commentary of Rabbi Yossi, because when Rashi talks about how high the Mizbeach was, he brings down the opinion of Rabbi Yossi as well as Rabbi Yehuda that it was 10 amas. And the Gemara concludes over there, the way Tosfos learns that, in one answer, that according to Rabbi Yossi, we have to say that the Kalei HaChotzer, the Shmosach, was 20, and the meaning of the Chomesh would mean 5 beyond the Kalei HaChotzer, which would make it 20. So the Rebbe says, since the Rashi brings down Rabbi Yossi, and according to Rabbi Yossi, we have to say that it was 20 amas. And the pshat of 5 in this pasuk means lu'umas means higher. So why doesn't Rashi learn that taich of lu'umas means above, 5 amas above, since according to Rabbi Yossi, we anyways have to say that. Let's look inside. Over here, with Halton Cup over here, because the Rebbe brings down the different Gemaras to bring out this point. But the Rebbe will eventually say that Rashi doesn't go with that. This doesn't really. Rashi doesn't have to say that. Rashi doesn't learn. Rashi learns that the Kloim Chotzer were only 5, not like basically according to all opinions. And the only issue the Rebbe is going to remain with is the issue we have here in the pasuk. It seems to be better teaching lu'umas beyond, as Rashi has touched elsewhere, especially that why the pasuk would bring down lu'umas Kalei HaChotzer, as we will see. The kasha wird noch starker. This question becomes even stronger according to a previous commentary of Rashi. But first we have to introduce. As is faran amachloikes zwischen Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. There is a disagreement between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. wegen dem Hoich, der Hoich von dem Mizbeach, how high the Mizbeach was. Rabbi Yehuda says, as those were state, the Pasuk states clearly, B'sholish amis koimosoi, that the height of the Mizbeach was 3 amis, is dvarim kiksovim. That words mean as it's written, that the entire height of the Mizbeach was 3 amis. Rabbi Yossi learned up. Rabbi Yossi learns, from Mizbeach HaPnimi. He learns because there's a word ribua, square. The word square is written by the Mizbeach HaChitzon, what we're talking about now. And there's also says ribua in the Mizbeach HaPnimi. He learns the Gzeir Shava. So he learns over there that Malahalun Gove Pishnaim Keorkoi. Just like over there by the Mizbeach HaPnimi, the height was double its length. Avkan Pishnaim Keorkoi. So here too, by the Mizbeach HaChitzon, since the Orkoi was 5 by 5, the square was 5 by 5, so therefore the height of it has to be 10. As the Hoich from the Mizbeach is given as 10 amas, that the height of the Mizbeach was 10 amas. The bottom line is, Rabbi Yehuda says it was 3 amas high, and Rabbi Yossi says it was 10 amas high. Okay. So the Gemara brings down, bring the Gemara, Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda argues to Rabbi Yossi, trying to prove his point. If we're going to say the Mizbeach was high up 10 amas, so that means that, and the curtains, as we said before, were only 5 amas. That's what it says in the Pasuk, Chamish amas Kaimose, that it was 5 amas, the curtains in the Chotzer. So it turns out all over around the Beis HaMikdash, people can see when the Kohen Gadol is doing it. Doesn't really fit for that. The avodah needs to be done in a closed place. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda arguing the point that it can't be that the Mizbeach was so high like Rabbi Yossi claims. So he says, Rabbi Yehuda says that after Kohen Gadol Kohen Omed al Gabe Mizbeach, could it be that the Kohen is standing on top of the Mizbeach, which is 10 amas? He's doing the service in his hand, and everybody on the outside can see the Kohen. If the Mizbeach is 10 amas high, for if the Mizbeach is 10 amas high, he says the Hechem the Kala HaChotzer. Then it turns out that it's higher than the curtains of the Chotzer that surrounded the Chotzer. Was there Heich is given 5 amas? There were only 5 amas. So Hot Rabbi Yossi im geantwortet. What did Rabbi Yossi respond? As halt, as the Hoich from the Kloim is given 10 amas. That he holds that they weren't 5 amas, but they were 15 amas. And the Gemara explains over there that when it says, it brings a pasuk from, it says Amosach ala Oren la Mizbech, it means that it covered the Mosach Mizbech, but he says that what the pasuk says, 5 amas high, means higher than the Mizbeach. Since the Mizbeach was 10 amas, this was 5 amas above that, it was 15 amas. The bottom line is, the Gemara says there, that according to Rabbi Yossi, the Kloyim were 15 amas. Okay, around the Chotzer. And then we will see now, the Rebbe brings down from the Gemara in Eruvin, what is the definition? How much is this height? What is the minimum height of a door? What does the door mean? So we learned it out that it has to be like from the Beis Hamikdash. Over there, it was 10 by 20. It was 10 amas wide, minimally. That's the minimal requirement of a door. 10 amas wide and 20 amas high. So the shaila is, but since we just said that the kloim were 15 amas, so the door doesn't quite meet the qualification. The Shara Chotzer doesn't meet the qualification. It's not 20 amas high, it's only 15 amas. So Tosfos explains the Gemara there that we're going to say now that when the pasuk says this pasuk that we're talking about, Rashi says lu'umas kale achotzer. It means above the kale achotzer. So the kale achotzer were 15, and this was 5 higher, made it 20. Fitted exactly. It has the size of the door. In this case, it was 20 by 20 because the width was 20 as well. But the height meets the qualification of a door. So, according to Rabbi Yossi, we see that the umas. Why does Rashi learn the umas is higher? Because according to Rabbi Yossi, we have to say so. Let's look at it. The Gemara in Eruvin Zokt. The Gemara in Eruvin says, as the sheet from a Pesach, the measurement from a Pesach, that's Rabbanon, is machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon, but according to the Rabbanon, is Esrim Amo, the Hoich Berechev Esrim. It needs to be 20 Amma high by 10 Ammas wide. Fredi Gemara asks, Lilfu me Pesach Sharachotzer. How could you say that it needs to be 20 by 10? But why don't you learn from the entrance to the Pesach Sharachotzer? Malahalon Chomesh Berechev Esrim. Over there, if we learn the pasuk v'chomesh ames kimida was the right. It was 5 ames high the door, so over there was 5 by 20. Malal chomesh berechev esrim, avkan chomesh berechev esrim. There should be a door. Now explain the order. The main question is here: we shouldn't need 20 ames high. We only need 5 ames high. Why don't we see there that a lesser shear than 10 amas qualifies for a door because it was only 5 amas height in the shar, so it qualified as a door. Mor's question is not so much as the Rebbe brings that on, not with the Rechav Esrim, because it's okay to be wider, but over there we should learn from there that we don't need Esrim Amo because over there was only 5 Amo. When the Gemara answered, in Zweiten, the Gemara answers the second answer. The Girsas HaTosfos, this is the version of Tosfos, that Kloim Tezvov Amo. The Kloim were 15 Amo. As we said before, according to Rabbi Yossi, they were 15 Amas, and the 5 Amas that it says then the Pasha Truma, that the Kalachotza were 5 Amas, that means 5 Amas higher than the Mizbeach. So it was 15 Amas all around. Here, when the pasuk says with regards to the Sharachotzer that the height was 5 amas high, is misvas kloim ulamailo. That means lu'umas. Hakloim, meaning kalumas kalachotzer, means it was 5 amas higher than lamailo. Tosfos is masbir. Tosfos explains. At the kushis agamori is if them shir. Chof Amma from Goyva Pesach. The Gemara, I said the Horus, but this is the Prim in the Tosfos that it's 20 Amas from the height of the Pesach. Mezedach, the Gemara's question was Mezedach from Pesach and Chotzer. You see the end of the Chotzer as the Shiur from Goyva Pesach is nor Chomesh Amas. It's only 5 Amas. Gemara to toif in them enter, and the Gemara comes up in the answer of the Gemara as oich the Pesach Chotzer is given oich of Amas, that it was also 20 Amas high. Ayu does state the koyme bereich of Chomesh Amas, that the height was only 5 Amas, the width of the kloim, that it was 5 Amas high. Make misvas kloim ulamaylo. It means from the edge of the kloim that were around the circling the chotzer, from there it was 5 amas above. 5 amas hecher from the kloim was the das Rabbi Yossi. The segment was amas canal. According to the 15 amas. So what does it come out? Kum dachois as the das Rabbi Yossi, like the Pirush HaTosfos, There's other interpretations in the Gemara, but we're going now according to this interpretation. Is there taich for the umas kale achotzer? What does it mean, umas kale achotzer? Hecher for the kale achotzer. That's the way we can fit in that the gate was 20 amas high, which is the qualification according to the Rabbanan for a chotzer, for a door. Well, why does Rashi have to explain the opinion of Rabbi Yossi? But since we see as freer in Parshas Truma, before in Parshas Truma break Rashi Rob Beide days, both opinions for Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, whether both that it was 3 amas and that it was 10 amas. So then, according to that, also we hear in his commentary of the Umas Kala Chotzer, Gedav bringing the Taich in Umas Kala Chotzer, he should have brought down the interpretation Samuch Lamaila, close above, that it was beyond the Kala Chotzer. He should have brought that Nit Norvas is Mer Masim and Loshna Kosufra. Not only because it fits more in the language of the Pasuk, as the Rebbe said earlier, because we don't need the old Kale Achotzer otherwise to tell it. What does it tell us? Norvas is massive to Das Rabbi Yossi, was Rashi break the Rebbe, because this also fit with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that Rashi brings down. So in Ois Gimel, the Rebbe was basically arguing, since according to Rabbi Yossi, based on the whole lumdus of that Toshus, the way he explains the Gemara in Eruvin, we have to say, in order for it to fit the criteria of a door in the Gemara in Eruvin, that the Umas Kala Achotze means above, that it was 20 amas. So why doesn't Rashi choose that? But Rashi didn't bring down Rabbi Yossi. But I know it's down that Rebbe is going to say, no. This part is Gimel's argument of Rabbi Yossi doesn't really follow according to Rashi. Because Rashi makes no changes. Rashi simply says at the Parshas Truma, when it says that the Kale Achotze were 5, this goes according to everybody. Rashi doesn't have a problem that he's going to be seen outside, and we have to therefore say the Kale Achotze raised. This doesn't go into Rashi, and therefore this particular argument that Rabbi Yossi has to be Lu'umas means higher in order to get the extra 5 to make it into a chotzer beyond the 15 of the kohen. That's Rashi doesn't accept that. But the only question that remains is in the pasuk, if lumas doesn't means the measure, why do we have to tell us like the measure of the chotzer? The chotzer measure is 5, is in Parshas Truma. Here the pasuk tells us that the size of the curtain height was 5. Why do we need to say that it's the same measure? Rashi is saying something else, which is going to be the whole Gewaldige Chiddush from the Rebbe in this Sikha. But first, the Rebbe is going to say that this point is a mute point, that Rashi does not really go into this whole lumdus with Rabbi Yossi. This part of the question is not, in Emes nobody's doskin kashin. Truth, this is not really a question. But the ganze shakel v'tariya, this entire give and take, hot, it has no room, according to as Rashi learns, according to the simple meaning of the pasuk. In pasuk b'soy parshas truma, in the pasuk in the end of parshas truma, when the Torah discusses the size, it says oirech hachotzer goimer. It says the length of the chotzer. It talks about it was 100 by 50. 2 sides were 100. The east and the west were 50. The pasuk says v'koima chomish ames. Erech hachotzer goimer is Rashi mefarish. V'koima chomish ames goiva mechitzes hachotzer. That was the height of the mechitzes of the chotzer. That's what the width of the kloim. The length of the kloim went to the sides, and the width of the kloim, the narrower side of the kloim, went the top. And the top was 5 ames. That was the size. Those haste. And this means, as Agam beim Shir von dem Mizbeach, bringt Rashi euch the day for Rabbi Yossi. Although by the amount the size of the Mizbeach. Rashi also brings the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, Gove Pishnaim Ke'orkoi, that it needs to be that it was double the size of the length. And if it was 5 by 5, so it needed to be 10. Von deswegen, as far as the height of the mechitza the chotzer, Zokter Ba'ifun Stami. Over there, Rashi doesn't make any changes according to this. It says Stam, as it's Chomesh Amos, it's 5 Amos. Musman Zogen, so therefore you have to say, as Al Derech Hapshat, as Al Piderech Hapshat, in the Rashi style, who teaches us the simple meaning, is Afilu Leidem Pirush. Even if we say, according to the interpretation, as the Hoich from the Mizbech is given Yud Amos, which is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that he brought that it was 10 Amos high, is the Goyva Mechitzas HaChotzer given Nor Chomesh Amos. The height of the Chotzer walls were only 5 Amos. How could it be 5 Amos when the Gemara argues, everybody sees? Not a problem. When the time is moving bepashtus, why Rashi could say that, even according to Rabbi Yossi. Says the Token Hechelech and Derech Hapshat. There is nothing to force us in the simple style of learning. Is only Torn Zen with their kohen to the Aved of Mizbeach, that you should not be allowed to see how the kohen does the service on the Mizbeach. On the river Teichman, and therefore we're going to translate the kohen chomesh amos. The height was 5 amos kipshuta, literally. Nid ve'alpil derech haGemara, not as we learn it by the Gemara. That's Rabbi Yossi. According to Rabbi Yossi, as it's made misfasa Mizbeach l'maylo, that the chomesh amos means starting from the edge of the Mizbeach, which Mizbeach was 10, this was 15. Ubemele is moving. As euch beneged dem heuch for shara chotzer, kemen zog. So therefore, it's understood that also as far as the height of the gate of the chotzer, we can say, as a derech pshat is as l'chol pirushim, that based on the pshat, according to all pirushim, given nor chomesh amos. It was only 5 amos. Afilu loid dem pirush, even according to the explanation, as the Kohen says, Bech is Yud Amos. It was Yud Amos, but the entrance was 5 Amos. And the Rebbe doesn't mention it here, but it doesn't seem that it would be a problem with the Gemara in Eruvin that a door needs to be. Rashi doesn't bring down this whole height of a door. And this whole idea doesn't say, so Rashi doesn't have to address it. The size of a door, according to Rashi, can be 5 Amos. As weiter beschwer, okay, but we still have the other question. Hey, let it be true that in the content of this idea is that we don't have a reason, literally, to be forced to say, as the Das Rabbi Yossi, the Goyim for Shara Chotzer, we don't know that it was more than Chomesh Amos because it's fine that it was Chomesh Amos. Just like this Chomesh Amos of the rest of the Kloim, here the door was Chomesh Amos. We have no problem with that. But the language of which means close and higher in other places. We should have translated that the Shara Chotzer is given Chomesh Amos, Hecher from the Kala Chotzer Kinal. That it was the Umas, so that it was higher than the Kala Chotzer. As we said before, in Ois Beis, when the Rebbe asked the question, because that means more common in the word Umas, as the other word that was 5 beyond the other ones. The Rebbe explains that actually the Rashi's problem, as the Rebbe said, that why are these extra words, Umas Kale HaChotzer, here, that even if we should say that it means beyond the other one, like the Rebbe is suggesting, so the Torah could have said 10 Amos, you don't have to say 5 higher than that. Rashi learns that the word L'umas Kale HaChotzer are coming to define to you why we kept them Chomesh Amos. Because this door is just like a cover. The door is part of the mechitzas. It is part of the other. Everything else is 5. This is the same measure because it's a flow of the same. A gate, an entrance, is not different than the chotzer itself. Let's look inside. The Birinda. Rashi stoltzich the Werte leumas kale chotzer. Rashi is basing himself, and he quotes from the pasuk. Rebbe asked, he's not just explaining leumas; he's basing the word leumas kale chotzer. It seems that these 3 words seem to be extra. Even if you translate canal, as we said before, as dos meint chomesh ames hecher from the kloim, it means 5 ames beyond the kloim. Is the house not moving? It's still not understood why the Torah writes it in such a backwards way. Why does the Torah have to let us know the size, the height, the size of the height? By deriving it from a long language that it is 5 amas lumas kala chotzer, chomesh amas lumas kala chotzer, 5 amas higher than the kala chotzer, that this is 10. Based on kikan shtei bekitzer, and Clara could have said it short and clear. Koima beroichem eser ama. The height was the width of 10 amas. The Rebbe zogt Rashi. That's what Rashi says. As the posikum dozogon atam, the posik is coming to give us a reason. Why the entrance, the cover for the entrance, for the gate of the chotzer needed to be 5 amos. Unit hecher vider mosach pesach oil, and not higher, as it was the case with the mosach pesach oil. The mosach pesach oil was 10 amos. So maybe this should be 10 amos as well. Why is it 5 amos? Well, the mosach gemus zayin kimidas kala chotzer, because we needed the mosach to be the same measure as the curtain of the chotzer. The posik is madgish. The verse emphasizes as the mosach is in zayin toichen. What is the cover for the gate, for the door? Zayin tzvek do zelba. Its purpose is the same. Unatel from the kloim. It's part of the curtains of the cover from all around. And the riber darf sein hoich sein punkt bezerach. So that height needs to be the same as the other height. And the Rebbe says now, this also will answer the question that is asked. So how come Taka this gate was not the 20 amas we brought down before in the Gemara in Eruvin? This gate wasn't this 20 amma. How could you have a gate which is not 20 amma? Only 5 amma? Rashi answers it because it says Kimidas. This is not a gate. This is not an entrance, the definition. This is the partition. This is this is the wall that surrounds. This is the kloim. The mitmer b'derech agav entered the kasha al derech halacha. So, by the way, with this we answer the question which is asked on halacha. It's not the Rashi here. Was when gebracht in Rabbi Seinu Balatoisus, which is brought down in the Rabbi Seinu Balatoisus. And they ask like this: if there were only high 5 amas, so then it turns out that this entrance, the door, the entrance of this gate to the chotzer was not as high as the Pesach Hechel Beis Halomim, and we know that that's the minimum of shear as the Gemara brought down Nerven before. Und the Riber zan is a dort mefarish. So the Bala Toysus, what do they explain? As the Chiloyim from Tzadam Mizrach, that the curtains from the east side, since we say that L'umas, they had the same size, apparently the taich, like Rashi taiches, L'umas the same size. So they said that all of those curtains on that side, they were taking 20 amas high. That's how they explain. But Rashi learned, but as Rashi learns in the simple style of learning the pasuk, he says, "Correct question." It's begin with. It's not a question. But the pasuk gufa bavorim tes durch Moshe zayin. Pasuk itself forewarns you about this. Answers this question by saying the umas kale achotzer, which means to say der mosach shar achotzer is given a tail from the kale achotzer. It was part of the curtain, the same side because it was part of that. Niet onwijzendig van welcher Seite. So it's not pointing to any side. So you didn't want to, if you had a different size, it was something, then it wouldn't be like one courtyard, it would be distinguished. Das heißt, as in ganzen Chotter seine gewähnt derselbe Höhe von die Kloim. That means that in the entire Chotzer was the same height of this Kloim. Und b'meila hat euch der Schar nicht gehabt dem Gedder von der Pesach Mamish, wie Pesach Vayakhel. It did not have that definition from an entrance. It was mostly a partition. It was part of the fence, part of the kloim, and therefore it didn't have to meet the standard. As the Balatosus asked, it didn't have to meet the standard from the Kalei Achotzer, and that's why it's not a problem according to Rashi. And now the Rebbe goes away to bring down the same idea, discussing what is actually a door. Is a door part of the whole house, or a door is like an independent piece? We know there's a machlokes between the Rambam and the Ravid, whether you have to put a mezuzah in a doorway that doesn't have a door. If the door is part of the house, so missing a door means the house is not complete, so maybe you don't have to put a mezuzah. But if a door is just to close up the open area, then why is it important? So the house is a house even without it, and therefore you would need a mezuzah anyway. Let's see inside. This novelty, the above mentioned, as the mosach shara chotzer is betoichna atil from the kloim, that the cover of the gate of the chotzer is in conceptually, it's part of the kloim, but noch klarer werden, so we can understand it even more clearly, like the hezber and machlokes rishonim, by explaining the argument of the rishonim b'negei tzuchiv mezuzah as it relates to the obligation of mezuzah. Einer von den Tanoim was seinen machayev abayis in please mezuzah. One of the conditions that a house needs to meet in order to be obligated in the mezuzah. Rechen the Rambam counts v'yihuloid losses. It has to have doors. If you have an opening and there's no door to the opening, then according to the Rambam, you don't have to have a mezuzah there. The Ravid, Oberhalt, the Ravid disagrees. So is the day for Noch Rishonim, so is the opinion of the earlier. As Oich a Pesach on a Delos, if you have an entrance, it doesn't have a door, is mechuyev b'mezuzah, he's still obligated to put a mezuzah. Kenben mas besides machlokes, so we can explain the argument. Ados is tolu in the biur hageder from Delos. That this hinges on how we explain the definition of a door. Number one, you can say Delos is a tail from the mshar. The Delos becomes part of the gate. The door is the gate, and Vosinyone is psicha, knisa v'yitzia. So the gates, what is that? There's a house part of the thing, but it's the opening to get in and get out. Or base number two, delsa in yufanatzme. The house is just a door, sgira, that closes up a hole. You have a delos there. Either the delos is part, the opening of part of the house opens and closes, part of the gate, or A door, the actual door is closes an open space. On the Delas wird given a ständig offener Cholo. Without the door, there would be open space open. When the Delas is Seisem no Cholo. What the Delas, the job of the Delas, the definition of the Delas is to close the Cholo. The Nafkemina Ledina, what would be the difference in halacha between the two definitions? Is legabe chiyuv mezuzah, is with regards to the obligation of mezuzah. If we take like the first idea, as the delas is a tail from the mshar, the delas becomes part of the gate. That it is the opening of the gate is mistaber. Then it's logical. As the chiyuv from mezuzah, that the obligation of mezuzah, what is obligation? Was is verbunden mit mokem haknisa vayitzi from bayis, which is connected, tied to the place where you go in and out from the house, is faran nor. It'll only be that obligation when the Pesach is before harogel vasholem, when that entranceway is the way it should be with the door, because which is part of the gate, part of the entrance. When the hotadelas, it has a door. That's the full door, the full gate, the full opening is to have that gate, the door there. Because opening of the door allows you to enter the house. That's part of the house. On the other hand, if we're going to say, as the Geder Fundelis is to say some that the definition is just to close up, you have a hole there, so it's like a separate part, it's not separate in the house, you use it to close up the open. So then it doesn't really have, you don't have logical to say, as the Chiva Mezuzah Pesach V'Shar Habayis, that the obligation of Mezuzah, which has to do on the entrance and the gate to the house, there's Mokum HaKnis Vayitzi, that's the place where you go into exit. So Zayin Verbunden mit den Delas should be connected with the door. Should it have the door? But Zayin Zach is nicht zu der Los, the Knis Vayitzi, which it's not to allow going in, going out. The Delas works on the opposite of going in and going out because it doesn't allow you. That closes up the hole. It's either it serves to allow for entrance and going out part of the house, or it closes up as an independent. So why would the mitzvah of mezuzah be hinged on that? The Rebbe says Zion on those Zetman, and here we see the Shitas Rashi b'Pirush Shel HaTorah, how Rashi's view in the commentary of the Torah, Pipshuta Shenikra, the simple meaning of the pasuk, in them inyan, in this inyan, Rashi learns as the Mosach Shara Choser that the curtain of the gate of the Chotzer had gemus zayin ki midas kala Chotzer. It had to be the same size as the measure of the kala Chotzer canal. Because in essence is a tilt in the kloim. That is part of the kloim. Those haste, which means as kishem v'di kloim is in yonom stimo. Just like the kloim block, the close. Azois oich, the mosach shara chotzer. Same thing is the mosach chotzer in yone, nita tel from the pesach shara chotzer. It's not part of the opening, the gate, the entrance way to the chotzer, the way to reach to the chotzer. No stima, it's to close like the rest of the kloim. Ukishmoy mosach. Mosach means he covers. He protects, he's over. Der Fun is moving benegeet together from Delas. So this will also tell us about a door. Rashi goes, was the Mosach Shara Chotzer is Delas. That Mosach is in place of a Delas. That's the curtain. There can be in Shuvas and Abram ben Arambam. As Loit Shitas Rashi is Delas in Yone Sgira. That Rashi it's enclosure to close up. Unit Psicha. and not the opening. Das ist euch Masim. Das Masim euch beshit is Rashi mit Pirush al Hashas. It fits with Rashi's interpretation of the Gemara, where Rashi holds as euch a Pesach beli delis is mechuyev mezuzah, as the Rebbe explained before, that even if you don't have a door there, is mechuyev mezuzah because a delis, whether there is or not, it serves as a segira to close up the entrance, not as a opening of the entrance. As we talked earlier, as a delis is not contained from the Pesach, that a delis is not part of the Pesach of the door. A mezuzah is connected to the Pesach, to the door, to the shar, to let it in. But a door has nothing to do with that, and therefore it wouldn't affect bringing a mezuzah. Fits with Rashi that you would have to put a mezuzah even if it doesn't have a mezuzah, if it doesn't have a door. The Rebbe brings it down now in Pnimis Inyon. Ches, the Shaila Hanal, wegen Geder von Adelas, the above question about the definition of a door, in Chelek Halachashe B'Teure, in the portion of Halacha B'Teure, is euch voran benegeit zum Inyan von Delas, there is Mevur in Chelek HaSeish B'Teure. It also exists as far as the idea of the door as explained in the esoteric, the Soid, the inner part of Torah, the secret of the Torah. Delas b'pnimis inyonim, in the inner thing, a door, is Sfiras HaMalchus. That's the Sfira of Malchus. Now, Sfiras HaMalchus is the Memutza. The Sfiras HaMalchus is the intermediary vision. Olam HaAtzilus and the Olam HaShlematam HaAtzilus, between the world of Atzilus and the worlds that are lower than Atzilus. Ubechlal, zwischen ein Olam and Olam HaShlematam, and generally, not only between Atzilus and the other worlds, but within the world itself, each world, the level of Malchus, is the intermediary between that world and the lower world. When it's Sfiras HaMalchus, in the Sfiras HaMalchus, there are two aspects. Aleph, Malchus is Mailin of the Sfiras Velchazayin and Hechavanir, that Malchus blocks, obscures, hides, doesn't allow for the Sfiras that are higher from it to come through. Was mitzad dem Helem for Malchus, in Yam. That's why it's called Yam. Yam covers. And durch dem Helem is, and what happens through the block is, Malchus troktarab base. The second part, the troktarab, it brings down is Megala dem Oir from Atzilus. It reveals the light of Atzilus to the Nidrika Elomis, to the lower worlds. Mitzad dem angerufen Eretz. That's why it's called Eretz. So it's the Delas from the up to the bottom serves as a block to obscure the light that comes from the higher levels, and therefore it allows for a level to come down, a level of Eretz. When Dosh tells of the Shaila, the question is, what is the Iker for Sfiras HaMalchus? What is the main part of Sfiras HaMalchus? The Inyan HaHelim not allowing for what's up to come down, or the Inyan HaGile was is in Undurchir, or the revelation which is in Malchus and comes through Malchus. The answer Lepirush Rashi, according to Rashi, the answer is Lu'umas Kale HaChotzer, that it's Kimidas Kale HaChotzer. That it's the same as the Kale HaChotzer. It's a level of blocking. Mitzadam limud von Olam HaPshat. When we learn in the simple world of Pshat, Olam HaSiyah, is their Mosach, this cover, Videlis from Sfiras HaMalchus, the cover, and the door from Sfiras HaMalchus in Yonevi the Kloim. That idea is like the Kloim. Hela Mustima, it's blocking and closing. In the Olam is Brivi Tzira, in the worlds of Brivi Tzira, Hagam as Oichin Zei Poil that Helen from Sfiras HaMalchus. Even though that Malchus impacts from the level of Malchus, was the river is in Zenit Meir der Eirelikia Zebigilivin Atzilus. That's why they don't have the godly light shine to them as it does in Atzilus because of Malchus blocking, which is an Atzilus Olam HaAchdus. Von deswegen wird in sein Nimshach an Inyan from Gilu Elikus. But yet there is still something godly. In Bria and Yitzira, there's still godliness over there, as opposed to Asiya. So while Malchus impacts there, but it doesn't impact it so much. When the far is Bria and Olam is Rubei Toiv, in Bria we say it's mostly good. When Yitzira is Al Kapari Mechza Mechza is 50-50. So in their perspective, Malchus doesn't block so much. But when we talk about Pshat, Asiya, but in Olam Hasiya, in Helam Legamri, when we're talking Olam Hasiya, over there is totally blocked. This is Olam HaKlippus Sitra Achra. It's a world with Klippus on the other side. Kol Masi Olam Hazeh Koshim V'roim, V'Hashem Gevrim. All the acts of this world are difficult and bad, and the evil are overpowering. Und der Riber herzich in Olam Hasiya, Olam HaPshat, and therefore the world of Hasiya, Olam HaPshat, Rashi, Beikir de Pulas HaHelam for Malchus. We hear and we sense here the Hel Malchus. Rashi says, Kimidas Kala Chotzer, it's all session in the Olam Hasiya. How? Test. But the Tachlis HaKavoni is the Chover zu Mevatel sein dem Helam. The goal of this block is that you should negate this Helam. As was ein Gil Elikus Lamata, to bring Elikus revelation below of godliness. The Riber steht nicht in Teure befeirish Kimidas Kala Chotzer. This doesn't say in the Torah, the Pasuk doesn't say. Nor Lu'umas Kala Chotzer. It says the word Lu'umas Kala Chotzer. Was Lu'umas meint nicht a Vergleich, was is the Zelda Mamash. Doesn't mean that it's Mamash equal. It's not Mamash a block like the Kala Chotzer. Nor Bloiza Me'ein und Dugma. It's of similar. Al der of the Losh Menegei to Kedusha Klippa, Ze Lu'umas Ze. It's not the exact same, but it's next to each other. This haste that the Mosach Shara Chotzer is not the Zelba Mamash with the Kloim. That this curtain of the Chotzer is not the same as the Kloim. Bochazainen, a ständiger, fullständiger Helmwester. They're a complete, always blocking, never letting through. Nor Teure git koyach tzibur machen der Mosach. Teure gives the strength to change around, turn around the Mosach. As a verb an inyan for Psicha Vegilu, to get it open and reveal. Not only do you open up, he says, Verde Psicha with the Pischa Shel Ulam. You open it up as the entrance of the Ulam. We'll learn that it's double. It's 20 by 40, double the size of the Dallas of the Beis HaMikdash. But over there was just an entrance. There was no glosses there. Shatomadoy Pesucha was always open. As es Verder Gilu standing with Tachlis, that the revelation becomes constantly, totally, onkane alomas without any blockage. V'nigluk v'davaya, v'rol kol basa yachdav kipi havaya diber. The glory of Hashem will be revealed, and all flesh will see together. Hashem has spoken. The revelation, the doors will be open, and will be open like the Ulam. And the Rebbe ends off the Sikha by saying, look what a beautiful interpretation Rashi tells us over here. The Rebbe blames it all on Rashi. The Rebbe just, figured this all out. But the Rebbe says, Yud, dazet na wieder da flow in Pirush Rashi al-Torah. We see how wondrous Rashi's commentary on the Torah. As from a kurtzum Pirush from Rashi, from a short interpretation of Rashi, was Bashkofer Rishayna Zeta Soy says, first glance it appears, a very simple translation. And you are able to take out. Nit nor vi in Odem Pirush is boiler der cloud. Not only that in this commentary we know the rule was Rashi legitaris, as Rashi himself has said, he has given out this rule. I've come to explain the simple meaning of the pasuk. But also you see in the Pirush Rashi and Faran in Yonim Mifloim there are wondrous matters. The Rebbe brought down about the laws of mezuzah, the rulings of halacha, the other Pirush ala Torah, and also that this commentary Rashi and the Torah is behesem. will fit to Shitas Rashi bePerush al Shas, fits with Rashi's prison on the Shas. Und euch die Hasome zwischen den Yonim is a Zayin al Derech Pshat veHaloche, as they are in the Pshat veHaloche, is a very Nisbar in Kabbalah v'Chasidus, as the Rebbe is done at the end. So, like I said, the Rebbe blames it on Rashi, Yonim Floim, with a little help from the Rebbe to explain, to show us the Yonim Floim from the Rashi. It's a meridike, but here you see that the Rebbe gives this Sicha a special and a special push, a special plug, saying how this Rashi encompasses all the very simple Rashi, and yet it encompasses all of the Rebbe's constant teachings of Rashi, that is the level of Pshat, and there is in Yonim Ufloim, and there's Halacha, and Chassidus. This is all Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Vayakhel, Tov Shin Chof Hey.